at the bottom or the top? This one is facing the wall.
Okay. I'll go ahead and call to order the meeting of the License and Variance Board for Wednesday, June 27th, 2018. The time is now 10:04 a.m. I apologize for the few-minute delay. Of course, technical difficulties, you know. I'm sorry, got ahead of myself. My name is Roy Akery. I'm the fire chief here in the city of Smyrna. To my left is Mary Moore. She's the director of the library. To Mary's left is Scott Stokes, the director of public works. And in front of Mary is Elsa Thompson, who's here to record the official meeting minutes. First item on the agenda this morning is item 3A. It's a public hearing, variance request V18-046 to allow reduction of side setback from 10 to 1 foot for a carport addition to a single-family residence, 0.13 acre land lot 778, located at 2474 Spring Drive. Thomas DeSosa is the applicant. Sir, if you could please step to the podium. And we're going to ask a couple of things. Can you just look down at the base of the microphone and ensure that the green light is on? We'll ask that you speak in the microphone, but it's for the meeting minutes. Good morning. How are you? Could you, I guess, okay, there we go. If you would, please, if you would just describe your project to us and what it is that you're asking us to do here.
We're looking to get a variance for a carport that is been placed in the position of the original carport when the house was originally built in the 60s. It's the only logical place for the carport, and it is on the side of the home where the driveway enters the property, and then there's a concrete pad there to park the cars.
Okay. So there was an existing carport there?
Originally when the house was built in the 60s.
Okay. And this, the new, what I'm going to call the new carport, which I'm looking at pictures of right now, that's, how old is that?
It is less than a year old.
Okay. Okay. Anything right now for the applicant? Okay, if you would just please have a seat. We may call you back up.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll have Joey Stobbs.
Joey Stobbs, Planner 2, Community Development. Applicant's requesting a variance at 2474 Spring Drive to allow side setback reduction from 10 feet to 1 foot for a carport. As the applicant described, this structure was built prior to obtaining a building permit, and then code enforcement was notified. And since there was within the side setback, they submitted a variance application. It's about a 12 by 18 foot carport, and it's like a foot away from the side property line. We've seen other variances like this before, and there's many throughout that neighborhood that are carports in the setback. So we recommended approval with 3 conditions. 1, that approval of the requested variance shall be conditioned upon the development of the property in substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application. 2, downspouts and gutters will be installed to divert stormwater away from adjacent properties. And 3, if approved, applicant shall apply for building permit and have inspections in order to ensure the structure meets building code requirements. We've heard complaints from one neighbor in the neighborhood that has issues with stormwater runoff going onto the property. Other than that, we haven't heard anything else. And as I mentioned, we recommended approval.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you, Mr. Stobbs. Sir, if you could please step back forward, step up. So you just heard Mr. Stobbs read into the record 3 conditions. Primarily, the things that'll affect you is the addition, if they don't already exist, to appropriate downspouts and gutters so that you could mitigate any storm water runoff ensure that it stays on your property and doesn't go somewhere else. And also that you're going to have to get a building permit, and the construction of the carport is going to have to be inspected.
Sure.
So are you in it, or do you
Willing to
accept those
comply,
conditions?
accept and willing to comply.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
How do you plan on handling the stormwater runoff?
Well, we're going to have a new roof and gutters put on the main house. When we do that, we'll have the contractor put a gutter and a downspout with a drain tube.
Have you spoken with the building official or building department yet, or not?
No, have not.
All right, thanks.
What's the frame on your roof project?
We're just waiting for this, to go through, and then have one contractor do both.
I see. Is the new carport the same footprint as the old carport?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you.
Was it torn down before you purchased the house?
Correct.
I see.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If there's anybody here that would like to speak to this agenda item, I ask that you step forward now. Yes. Come forward, sir. If you could please state your name and your address for the record.
William Danfield Hayes.
Hold
I own
on.
the property.
1 second, just in the microphone so we
Okay,
can
I'm
get it
sorry.
on the record.
William Danfield Hayes. I own the property right next door, 2468 Spring Drive. It's a investment property for me. It's tenant occupied.
Okay.
And this, I do not think there was ever a carport there before. I'd be interested in seeing. None of those properties had. This is built about 9.5 inches from my property line. It puts water right on top of a retaining wall. I'm worried it's going to destroy my retaining wall. It's just too close to my property.
Okay. Well, I do know that one condition within this consideration for this board to approve or deny, one of the conditions was that they ensure that stormwater runoff does not affect your property in any way through the use of gutters and downspouts.
And gutters clog and fail.
Yeah.
This is right on top of a retaining wall. Like I said, it's within 10 inches of the property. I measured it out at 9.25 inches to the pole. The overhang is probably right on the property line.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to protect my property interest.
Yes.
I own multiple properties on that street and try to obey the zoning laws. And I hate to have them tear down the carport, but I'm trying to protect my own property interest.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And I was willing to I'd never heard anything about a potential settlement from them. That's why I'm here today.
Okay. Thank you. Just 1 second, sir. Is there anybody else here that would like to speak to this? The applicant, I'm assuming, has one more comment. I'll allow one more. Go ahead.
Chief, when we install the gutters, we're looking at putting the gutters with the guards on them so they will not clog. And also we'll put a seine cloth on the drainage as well. And I think it would, prevent that. It's a flat roof, so it's really going to be a lot of dripping, not, potential heavy runoff. But with the gutter guards that'll be installed, there will be no clogging of the gutters.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any further
I've got a question for staff.
question for staff, Mr. Stops?
Joey, if this is approved and we throw stipulations on it as has been read into the record, and one of the stipulations being that downspouts and gutters will be installed to divert stormwater away from adjacent properties, and if that is not complied with, and or if that's not maintained or complied with in the future, would this be a citable offense upon the property owner by our marshal's office for violating this variance request?
Yeah, if it's a condition of the variance approval, then if that is not in compliance, then code enforcement has authority to issue notice or citation.
Okay.
Okay. Any further? All right.
I do have for the applicant, please.
Okay, sir. The applicant, if you could please step forward.
So it appears that there is according to your survey, it's noted that there's and it's hard to read and I can't twist the machine, but it looks like there's a brick retaining wall between you and and the adjacent property.
Correct.
And that looks like the brick retaining wall is probably, according to this line, belongs to the adjacent property.
Correct.
And your driveway I can't tell from the photographs, but the driveway to your home, it looks like it runs up along the side of the home.
Correct.
And the pitch of that driveway is what with respect to stormwater runoff? Which way does the water flow when it lands on your driveway on the side of your house now?
It flows to our front lawn.
And then what foundations are under the posts that hold up that, I guess, northerly side of your carport?
There's cleats and bolts that go into the driveway cap.
So if you do pitch the water with a gutter on, I guess the northern side of the carport, you're going to put in downspouts. Which way do you anticipate having to push the water to not cross the property line?
We could put a pipe all the way out to the street if you like.
What was your intent?
I'm sorry?
What's your intent?
My intent is to have a contractor look at it and tell me, what the best, bet is. I'm in the parking industry, so I really don't know too much about, gutters and downspouts.
But there is a way to push that
Sure.
water
Mm-hmm.
either down the driveway or into
Correct.
the backyard or something.
Yes.
Okay. And my question to staff was, and you do understand that, that this is a maintainable, you're going to have to maintain these gutters.
Yes.
And
Well, we're looking at replacing the gutters on the house, so, we're going to go with a 6-inch gutter compared to the smaller ones that are on the house, and then a larger downspout as well. And then again, we'd use a tube with a seine cloth and have it, brought away from the retaining wall.
okay. I just want to make sure you understand it, and that's why I wanted to reiterate with staff that these stipulations are part of the variance,
Sure.
and any violation of those is a citable offense in our court system. Okay.
Right. We're well aware, and we look forward to an inspection after the work's done and any corrective measures for that as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any additional?
I have another statement.
Sir, do you have anything new to add?
I'm just looking at your, what the variance
Sir,
request is.
sir, I'd ask you to step from the microphone, please.
Looking at the variance request where it says 1 foot.
Yes.
It's less than 1 foot.
Okay,
I measured it 9 1/4 inches. To the pole with the overhang, it's probably right on the property line.
I think that we have got an answer for you, but I'm going to let Mr. Stobbs address
Okay.
that. Mr. Stobbs, if you could please step forward. Is it true that in general, when you do the issue sheets, that if it's within a foot, then you reference it as 1 foot? Is that correct, or is that not correct?
If we know for sure, then it's an estimate without a survey being done.
Without an actual survey?
As-built survey. It looks like a foot. If it's 3 inches closer, then
Well, I think, would you agree that whether it's 9 inches or 12 inches, and I don't think that we've heard that anybody's contesting that it is over the property line. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Do you contend that, sir, that it's over the property line?
Not sure about the overhang. I did not measure the overhang.
Okay.
It's,
Just the pole.
it's measured from the pole or the
Okay.
foundation
Right.
wall.
Thank you.
Well, Joey, but ordinance-wise, where is the measurement to be taken? From the face wall or pole of the structure, from the soffit, from the fascia? Where
From
is that
the-
line supposed to, what is this 1 foot supposed to represent?
From the post, or if there was a wall.
So realistically, an overhang can cross a property line?
As far as setback goes, it's measured from the side wall.
So that's the intent of all of our zoning ordinance then?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion from
The
the board?
applicant, please.
I'm sorry?
The applicant, please.
Okay, sir, if you could please step forward.
What's your contention?
My
With respect to
contention,
where your structure lies or in relationship to that line?
my contention is that there are 31 like structures in the neighborhood that we have pictures and record of, and that the overhang does not exceed the property line, and that when it was constructed because it's the only plausible place to put a carport. It's where two driveways butt up against each other, so it's not a structure up against a structure. And again, it's the only reasonable place to put a carport for your car.
Have you physically measured the distance between your pole and the property line?
Yes, I have, and I believe it was 10 inches from the inside of the retaining wall. There's a planter there, and then there's a retaining wall.
Sir, I believe that the person, I'm not sure if it's your wife or who, but so.
My daughter,
Your daughter, I'm sorry.
she's the actual homeowner.
Okay, so you raised your hand just a minute ago, and if you have any additional information to add, Mr. DeSosa is actually the applicant. So I will allow, if there's additional information, one way or the other, that you think you want to add, then.
My name is Megan D'Souza, and my name was also on the application since
Okay.
I'm also the homeowner. I also wanted to add our intention with the carport. Aside from making daily life easier due to a lack of a garage, we have a special needs young man who lives in our home, and he does not like the sun or rain. So this carport makes his day-to-day activities way easier for him to cope with. So I just wanted to add that was with our intention, aside from when it's raining, being able to get into the house and things like that with our vehicle, but for him to get into the house as well without having any difficulties.
Okay, thank you.
And my son had something called Williams syndrome, so that's what his cause is.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any further discussion from the board? I'm sorry.
Once we make a motion, but I'm going to ask that there be a fourth stipulation or condition, and that's going to be that an as-built survey be conducted to ensure that you're in compliance with the 1 foot request.
Mr. DeSosa, could you please step forward? So the discussion, as you've just heard, is the contemplation of adding an additional condition that you have an as-built survey done. And I think that it certainly is agreed upon by all that whether it's the pole or the overhang, we're close, very, very close, within a foot of the actual property line. I think that it's a reasonable request. Given that you've got some neighbors, I think that it would be a gesture of goodwill if we could just.
Sure.
So I would
Definitely
agree.
willing to comply. Anything you ask us to do, we're going to comply.
Okay. So for the record, that would be stipulation 4, Mr. Stobbs, is to require an as-built survey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V18-046 to allow a reduction of side setback from 10 feet to 1 foot for a carport addition to a single-family residence, .31 acres, land lot 778, 2474 Spring Drive, with the conditions that were read into the public record, and also with a condition number 4 that an as-built survey be conducted to ensure that the variance request of 1 foot from the outside wall or post of the structure is indeed 1 foot from that property line.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Without further discussion, I'll call for a vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing variance request V18-047 to allow 6-foot chain link fence in front yard, 0.77 acre. Land lot 381, the property is 642 Concord Road. The applicant is the city of Smyrna. I understand that there's a representative to represent the city of Smyrna from Croy Engineering, Mr. Tom Robinson. Is that correct, sir? If you could please step forward and state your name.
Tom Robinson with Croy Engineering.
Mr. Robinson, good morning. This is a little bit of an unusual thing in that the city of Smyrna is contemplating a variance request from the city of Smyrna, right? So, and I think that it's important to note for the record that we do this because we hold ourselves accountable to the same thing we would hold any other applicant accountable for.
Right.
And also for the sake of transparency, an independent, Croy, you're not an employee of the city of Smyrna.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct? So if you could please describe to us the need for this variance request, just in general.
Sure. This is a request for a 6-foot chain link fence to replace an existing 6-foot fence that was there on the south side of Fire Station 2 that runs along the right-of-way of Smyrna Hill Drive.
Okay, and the unique thing about that, because literally the variance request reads that it's allow 6-foot chain link fence in front yard. This property has 2 front yards, right? Because it runs between Concord Road and Smyrna Hill Drive. So,
Yes, is actually the
okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Was the original fence also 6 feet?
Yes, it was a 6-foot chain link fence with barbed wire on top. Same exact what we're putting back.
Okay, if you could just have a seat on the front row in case we need you again. Mr. Stobbs, if you could give us the background on this one.
It's a variance request to allow 6-foot chain link fence in front yard along Smyrna Hill Drive. As it's been described, this property has road frontage on the front, on Concord Road, and then the back is Smyrna Hill Drive. Replacing an existing 6-foot fence. And this would be a 6-foot fence with a mesh fabric in it. It's primarily needed to screen a detention pond that'll be in the back of the building, and code requires screening of detention ponds with the front setback on both sides. It would need a variance just to screen the detention pond as we require. So we've recommended approval of the request and with no conditions.
Okay. Any questions for staff? This is a public hearing. If there's anybody present that'd like to come and speak to variance request V18-047, I ask that you step forward now. Seeing no one, step forward for public comment. If there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V18-047. Allow 6-foot chain link fence in the front yard on the Smyrna Hill Drive of property located at 642 Concord Road, .77 acres, land lot 381.
Second.
We have a motion that's properly seconded. Without further discussion, I'll call for a vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, V18-048, to allow second accessory structure for construction of a carport, 0.334 acre land lot 345 located at 2660 Estelle Court, with Timothy Scott McGowan as the applicant. I hope I didn't mess up your last name too bad, sir. If you could please step forward and just for the record state your name.
Yes, hi, I'm Timothy Scott McGowan.
Good morning.
Morning.
So I understand that this thing that you're asking this board to contemplate really triggers 3 different variances. So we have to hear and vote upon each one individually. But if you would, instead of us just repeating the same thing for all 3, just kind of give us an overall broad picture of what it is that you intend to do and the reasons why you intend to do it.
Certainly. Bought this home about 2.5 years ago. It was redone by a great guy I stay in touch with. He was kind of I guess you would call a house flipper, but he made this home beautiful in the neighborhood. There was a structure in the backyard on a thick foundation. They called it it was a garage, but it was more of a work room for the previous owners. Actually, it was a rented property for many years, but very neglected and unsafe structure. So we have our driveway goes up now into our backyard, and it makes it a little bit wider into our property because it was a 12 by 24, and now it's a full square with the addition towards our property. So that foundation and where it was, the intention was to then have a carport. Well, we looked into a garage. It was too expensive, so we went with the simple structure carport solution. The carport, so I guess addressing our first variance, because it is a simple structure carport without walls or any closets, I do have, it's kind of like like a Rubbermaid, like a 6x8 shed in my backyard that holds all my yard tools and such, and it locks for safety. So that's why I would have a secondary structure, and then. The reason for the variance from the property line is because we live on a cul-de-sac, and we're not right on the end of the circle. We're towards the beginning of where the circle starts, but all of our property lines are very, very oddly diagonal. Mm-hmm. So actually the variance, I'm within code at the very front of where that original cement foundation is, and I'm only within, not within current code towards the back because the property line angles.
Sure.
The house is straight to the street. The other structure was straight to the street, but the property line is angled.
Gotcha.
And then the other variance is that. This structure is intended for 2 cars, potentially 3. My parents may be moving down with me for a short time as they look for a place to retire too. So there could be as many as 3 cars in that driveway, but it's not. I mean, it's not. I don't think any bigger than the garage my neighbor has, which is only 5 feet from my property line, but. Building code was different back then when that was built. So anyway, I think that's really the sum of what we're doing is just really trying to beautify and make a more functional home.
Okay. So the old carport that you described is kind of unsafe, so
Garage.
the garage. Yeah. So that you've torn that down.
That has torn down, not by me, by the person I bought the house from.
Right, okay. So that's no longer there, and you need a carport to park your cars under. You have a small yard tool storage shed in the back that you'd like to keep, and as you stated, and just for the record, the ordinance only allows one accessory structure. So I think the first one we're going to contemplate, of course, would be whether or not you can have a second accessory structure. The way that you want to build it triggers the second one, which is an accessory structure size limit from 25 to 44 of the primary structure. And that's primarily because the existing house, it's not a 2,800 square foot house, so the ordinance reads the accessory structure can only be a certain percentage of the primary structure. So, and then the last one would be a side setback from 10 to 6. So does that kind of summarize
Yes,
accurately?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant right now?
You said this carport would be large enough to hold 3 cars?
It's gonna be 22 by 22.
Okay.
So, the way I park my cars currently, there's the two park side by side under what would be the carport, and then potentially the other car, it may hang out because my parents have a minivan, but a normal size car would probably be able to pull up behind. So, it could be, because 22 feet, you could probably have 2 cars if you put them really close to each other on the one side. So the intention isn't necessarily so we can have that many cars parked, but certainly my parents coming down from Chicago and me trying to help them find a place for their retirement is a priority in my life right now. And the safety of their car is important to me as well as the safety of my cars. And we have 100-year-old trees on the property that often will lose limbs. Arborists say the trees are healthy. It's just the nature of these trees lose limbs quite frequently. So we keep those trees well trimmed, but we want to protect the cars from the sun, trees, and potentially even hail should we have any. So.
Okay, so are you using a currently paved driveway to put the carport on, or are you going to be paving more area?
No, everything is currently paved, but my contractor will be putting in new footers for the structures. What would you call foundation? The structures, what holds the structure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you could have a seat on the front row for us. At this time, I'll get Mr. Stobbs to come up and give us a background on this project, this request.
First request is to allow a second accessory structure at 2660 Estelle Court. This primarily revolves around the size of the existing house at 1,100 square feet, which is smaller than our minimum house size in R15, which is 2,000 square feet. So it induces a need for more storage and limits the size of those storage buildings. They want to keep the existing little storage building and then build this detached carport. Since it's 1,100 square feet, that would limit the accessory structure to, like, I don't know, I can't do math right
Small. Yeah.
Two-
Smaller than
250
is
or so.
requested, yeah.
now. And what they're requesting is 484 square feet. But
Right.
based on a 2,000 square foot house, it would be 500 square feet. So it's not out of line with what would be allowed for the minimum house size in R15. And then that last request, the side setback, it's being built. They will be adding an additional foundation addition to the driveway, and the back corner will be within 6 feet of the side property line. We've added a condition that gutters and downspouts be installed to divert stormwater away from adjacent properties because of the because it's within the side setback. And then we've recommended approval with that condition, and then another condition that it be conditioned upon substantial compliance with the site plan submitted with the variance application.
Mr. McGowan, you just heard staff read into record the two conditions that would be associated with this. One, that you build it in compliance with the site plan, and then the second, that you have gutters and downspouts installed to divert stormwater away from any adjacent properties. Do you accept those two conditions?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Any questions for staff or for the applicant? This is a public hearing. If there's anybody here that'd like to speak in reference to V18-048, I ask that you step forward now. Yes, ma'am. Could step forward and state your name for the record, please.
Morning. My name is Meg Perry, and I live at 2670 Estelle Court, which is next to Scott's property on the south side. Okay. And there's a 6-foot fence along our property line, a wood view obscuring fence. So, you know, can't really see into his yard, which is fine. It was there when I bought my house, but the small shed that he uses for his yard tools, it's way down at the end of the property. Mm-hmm. So it's, you know, I don't have a problem with any of what he's doing, but that little shed is down in the back, so you hardly even see it.
Okay. So are you here today in support of these variance requests?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to vote on V18-048, allow second accessory structure for construction of a carport, 0.334 acres, land lot 345, 2660 Estelle Court, Timothy Scott McGowan, applicant.
Second.
Just for clarification of the record, that's a motion for approval.
Sorry, motion for approval.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval. It's properly seconded. Without further discussion, we'll call for a vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing to allow increase in accessory structure size from 25% to 44% of primary structure, 0.334 acre land lot 345, 2660 Estelle Court. Timothy Scott McGowan is the applicant. Mr. McGowan, if you could please step forward. Do you have any further or additional information to add specifically? Is there anything else we haven't talked about?
No, and you know, percentage-wise, well, no, I don't. Joey spoke to this, and the house may be a few hundred square feet, actually larger, right. Because there was an addition of a bathroom done before I purchased it onto the. But anyways, no, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, Mr. Stobbs, do you have any additional or further?
Nothing additional.
Do we have any questions from the board for applicant or staff? This is a public hearing. I would ask if there's anybody here that is here to speak on behalf of V18-049, I ask that you step forward now. Seeing none and without any further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve variance request V18-049, public hearing, allow increase in accessory structure size from 25% to 44% of the primary structure, 0.334 acres, land lot 345, 2660 Estelle Court, with the same stipulations as read into the record for the previous variance request.
Second.
We have a motion approved, properly seconded. I'll call for a vote. Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is public hearing, allow side setback reduction from 10 feet to 6 feet for the construction of a carport, 0.334 acre, land lot 345, 2660 Estelle Court for Timothy Scott McGowan as the applicant. Mr. McGowan, same question as last. Do you have any additional or further information?
I do not, from my original statements.
Okay, thank you. Mr.
Okay.
Stobbs, do you have any additional?
Nothing additional.
Okay. Any questions or comments for staff or applicant? This is a public hearing. If you're here to speak on behalf of V18-050, I ask that you step forward now. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve V18-050, allow side setback reduction from 10 feet to 6 feet for construction of carport, 0.334 acres, land lot 345, 2660 Estelle Court, applicant Timothy Scott McGowan.
Second.
We have a motion to approve. It's properly seconded. Call for a vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. McGowan.
Yeah.
Last item on the agenda is 4A 2018-276, which is the approval of the June 13th, 2018 License and Variance Board meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the June 13th, 2018 License and Variance Board meeting minutes.
Second.
Have a motion approved. It's properly seconded. I'll call for a vote. Motion passes unanimously. With that, we will adjourn this meeting at 10:45. I know.